My computer. There we go. We're live. Hello. Thank you. Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday here at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They are an online therapy company. They are international. If you are anywhere in the world and you want to get to a good therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. You're going to fill out some questions, and then they will set you up with somebody here in the U.S. Or if you're here in the U.S., they will set you up with somebody in your state who is licensed professional and what am I trying to say? Master's level or PhD level. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Hey guys. So, okay, my goodness. All right. And update on the book. So I thought it was coming out this month. We had some issues with the cover art. So it's coming out in February. So You Want to Be a Therapist will be out in February. And I swear to you, as soon as it is published and available, I will let you guys know. Also, I am turning these into podcasts. So all of the, well, not all of them, but all of the new ones will be on podcast. So they're on Apple, they're on Google. So just look up We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez and you will be able to find them. So if you want to get my older books, What's Wrong with Your Dad, which is my journey dealing with an alcoholic, opiate addict, disordered dad and how I got through that. And then You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but you can't make him cha-cha, which is why some people get into abusive relationships and are able to leave, and other people get into abusive relationships and stay. So there is that. And Susanna Quintana, SusannaQuintana.com. You're Still That Girl. So she is available. Her book is available at SusannaQuintana.com. You're Still That Girl. She has been there, done that. She's awesome. She's a life coach. I love her. Love. I love her posts. She's got the greatest blogs and the greatest posts. I really like her. The other person I really love is Shahida Arabi. She is awesome. I love this book. So this is called The Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. And I like it because it has journal suggestions. And I recommend this to my clients. So she knows what she's talking about. She's great. I love her books. She's awesome. Splitting. If you are going through a divorce, listen to me now, believe me later. Read this book because they are going to do every rotten thing that I've ever talked about, that Shahida's ever talked about, that Susanna's ever talked about. Everything is in here. What you can expect, what to do, how to, counter them, the whole thing. So this is by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy. This is a really good book. And I have any clients that are going through a divorce read this because you'd be surprised the number of times that clients will go, oh no, they would never do X, Y, and Z. And I look at them and I go, yes, they will. They will do X, Y, and Z. The depth of their depravity knows no bounds. No, they won't do that. And then a week or two later, oh my God, they did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yes, because they're a scorpion. So you remember that story that I always tell about the scorpion and the frog going across the river? And, the scorpion's like, oh, Mr. Toad, take me for a ride across the river. And the toad goes, no, because you're going to kill me when we get out in the middle of it. And then the scorpion goes, no, I'm not going to do that. That would be crazy. Then we'll both die. And so the toad thinks about it and he allows the scorpion to crawl on his back. They get out in the middle of the river and lo and behold, the scorpion stings him. And then the toad, shocked, goes, but now we're both going to die. Why did you do that? And then the scorpion looks at him and says, because it's in my nature. Because that's what abusive people are. It is in their nature. Nature is important. Nature, nurture. So nature gives us we have the cog for empathy, right? Okay, so nature, it's what we're born with. Nurture either pushes us over the edge if it's an abusive family or pulls us back from the edge if they're a healthy, loving, kind family, okay? So you remember that scientist I keep talking about that realized he was a psychopath and he didn't go down the psychopathic path because he had a family that directed him into science that didn't require emotion. It didn't require feelings. It required logic, and just, no emotion. And that's what he was good at. So they directed him and he never went down the psychopathic path. Did they recognize he was kind of odd? Yes. But it was a loving, healthy family that was able to guide him in the right direction. Now, if he'd had a family that was also psychopathic and abusive and neglectful and crazy, that they could have just pushed him right off the edge into psychopathic behavior. So, which leads nicely into what we're talking about today. So, nature nurture. So, these are signs I do not want you to ignore. These are behaviors I do not want you to ignore. And I know this is going to be repeating for some of you, because everybody's on a different path in their journey. Some people are brand new to this, some people have been out, some people are just, popping back in every once in a while. But I think it's a really important thing to make sure that everybody understands what the diagnostic behaviors look like, so that when somebody shows you who they are, you don't do what some of my clients do and go, oh, no, they wouldn't do that. That's not who they are, blah, 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 blah. Do you see where I'm going with that? It's like, no. This is who they are. This is how they act. So I want to start going through the cluster Bs. So cluster Bs are where you're going to find your abusers. Cluster A's is schizotypal, schizoaffective. They don't generally abuse. That's more like how do I explain this? It's like schizophrenia, but not full-blown schizophrenia. It has aspects of schizophrenia, but it is not full-blown schizophrenia. So those are cluster A's. Cluster C's are like obsessive compulsive. Those two are generally not going to be abusive if it's just that. Now, if it's comorbid with a cluster B, then yes. Cluster B is going to be your antisocial, narcissistic, histrionic, borderline. I'm missing one. But those, that is where you find your abusers, okay? So we're going to go through the behaviors, and I'm going to describe how those present so that you guys are looking for that when you're out dating, or when you're dealing with a coworker, or when you're dealing with, whatever. So, okay, let us start with antisocial personality disorder. Of course, I'm using the DSM-5. So this is in the DSM-5. This is page 659. Antisocial personality disorder, a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. So what does that mean? They have absolutely no empathy. They have no empathy. They don't care about harming other people. They just disregard it. It's like if somebody gets hurt in the process, oh, well, collateral damage, I had fun. That's really how they think. So violation of rights of the others, robbing somebody, lying to somebody in order to get financial gain, doing something to harm somebody else so that it benefits them. Okay, so pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15 as indicated by only need three or more of the following. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. Kleptomania, arson, physical fights, assaults, that type of thing. So like the rules do not apply to them. The law does not apply to them. So it's kind of, how do I explain this? In Phoenix for a while, we were having a really nasty rash, and this was before COVID and everything. So I don't know if this is still going on, but we had a real nasty rash of street racers. And there were multiple accidents where innocent pedestrians, other cars, other drivers were getting killed in these crashes because of street racers. Blatant disregard for society. So it's like societal rules do not apply to people with antisocial personality disorder. So it's really important to pay attention. Is this person that you're dealing with, are they doing things like that? Are they stealing? Are they getting into constant assaults? Are they constantly in trouble with the law? Are they constantly, white collar crime? That kind of thing. That counts too. So, failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behavior. So they're always breaking the law, trespassing, that kind of thing. As indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. So be aware of that. Deceitfulness, lying. If their lips are moving, they are lying. Deceitfulness as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases. Oh boy. I cannot tell you how many clients I've had these 16 years of doing this that got involved with somebody, especially from a dating site. I hate those things. And they were using a fake name. They had a whole family. They, they would come out on business, but they had a whole family wherever they were from. I mean, just crazy. Repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. So that's what that would be. So somebody who uses a fake name, somebody who lies all the time, conning other people, calling people up, sob story, I need money, but then they do it again, like, a month or two later, that kind of thing. Impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. And this, you're going to find that in a lot of the cluster Bs. They are very, very impulsive. So, and I don't mean impulsive, like fun impulsive, like, hey, let's go to Sedona this weekend. No, I mean like impulsive, like they don't think about the consequences. So when they do something, there's not if A, then B. That logic is like, whoo, out the freaking window. So most people, not everybody, because common sense, not so common. Most people have some sense of common sense. If A, then B. Or let's look at the consequences. If I do that, if I do go to Sedona, do I have enough money to pay for it, or am I going to be in credit card debt? You know what I'm saying? It's like you think of the consequences. It's like, is this a good idea? Yes or no? Pro and con list, right? Which you kind of do in your head. People with antisocial personality disorder don't have that put the brakes on, let's stop and think about this. It's want, do, want, do, want, do. And that's no bueno. So yeah, so there's an impulsivity. There's not a thinking of the consequences of what they're saying, or the consequences of what they're doing, or the consequences of committing this, felonious act or whatever. So yeah, so there is that. You want to look at how impulsive are they? Do they think of the consequences? Do they measure their words? Do they think before they speak? Now, if you'll notice, and all of us have been there, with cluster Bs, they rage. And when they rage, they tend to say the most horrible things with the intent to hurt, harm, damage, etc. When, okay? That's not thinking of the consequences. How is this going to affect the relationship? How is this going to affect my credibility? How is this going to affect fill in the blank? So yeah, there is that. Irritability and aggressiveness as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. Remember I talked about that. So angry all the time, irritated all the time, but like 24/7, like short fuse, easy to make angry. You just need to look at them wrong, and that will cause them to go off on a, tangent. And it's their excuse to rage. It's their excuse to get angry. So somebody who's angry all the time, or who's really easy to anger, that's a huge red flag, guys. Huge, ginormous. Because most people have got a pretty long fuse, usually. Most people have got a pretty long fuse, and they're able to kind of go, okay, is this really something I need to be angry about? Okay, if I'm angry, what's the fear that's driving it? Am I afraid of getting hurt? Oh, well, there it is. There's like a if A, then B, right? But with somebody who is impulsive, there is no stopping to think about the emotion. They just go straight to the anger and act on it. So that is something to really take a look at. Okay, reckless disregard for safety of self or others. Now, my dad used to play chicken with us in the car. He was cray-cray. Let's just be clear about that. Cray-cray. So he would play chicken with us in the car. He didn't care if we got into a crash. In fact, in his head, if we died, so much the better, because A, he wouldn't die alone because he was terrified of it. And B, we would go to heaven and be with God. And so shouldn't I be happy that he's playing chicken? He was crazy. Did I mention that? Did I mention that my dad was completely nuts? So yeah, so it's like this blatant disregard for self or others. And it's just like the people that were doing the drag racing. They didn't care. They didn't care if some innocent pedestrian, innocent other driver got harmed or hurt or whatever. Blatant disregard, placing the children in situations of danger, doing things that are dangerous without, thinking of the consequences. Those are all huge red flags, ginormous. And my dad used to do that on a daily freaking basis. Okay. Consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work or to honor financial obligations, which kind of goes hand in hand with the conning people. So antisocial personality disorder will rack up insane bills and then not want to pay for them. How many times have we heard of people, especially in Hollywood, racking up huge hotel bills and then being like, oh, well, I'm famous, I don't need to pay for it. And I'm like, are you smoking the ganja? What the, seriously, hello, welcome to the real world. You have a bill, honor it. Honor it. But no honor among thieves. So they don't, because they don't think they need to pay it because they are above the rules. I'm above this rule. I don't need to pay for my own stuff, blah, blah, blah. Or they refuse to hold down a job, come up with reasons why they can't have a job ever. And I'm not talking about real reasons. Like if you've got a disability, okay, yeah, that's a real reason. Or if you've got, other things going on that you literally cannot hold down a job. There's reasons why people cannot. But if somebody is just playing the game and not wanting to work and not wanting to, honor their financial obligations, and you're dealing with somebody who is, oh my God, antisocial. So the oh my God came from thinking of this absolute a-hole of a father who sent, I think it was 82,000 pennies to pay off the student or the child support. And I'm just like, what a douche. What an absolute, because he finally got caught and he had to pay it. And so instead of just doing the honorable thing and taking care of his own child, he decided to make it as difficult as possible for the spouse, because in their minds, they think that money is going to the spouse. They don't understand it's going to support the child that you helped produce. Don't get me started, because it's not going to be pretty and I'll want to start swearing and I can't because I have a sponsor. So anyway, sorry. Okay, back to this. All right. So that would include not taking care of your kid, not paying child support, not making sure that they're clothed, not making sure that they have an education, not making sure that they're safe, not making sure that they have insurance, not making sure. Those are all antisocial. That's crazy. You take care of your own, period. Don't even, oh my freaking God. Deep breath, breathe. Okay, so lack of remorse as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. So they shame, blame, rationalize, and excuse. What does that sound like? Interesting how all of the personality disorders start overlapping once you get further down the line of the spectrum. So yeah, they have no remorse. I had to pay them in pennies because I had to be right. I had to get the last word. You made me. Right? I beat you because you made me. How many times have we heard that? It was one of my dad's favorite things. It's like, well, you made me angry, so I had to hit you. If I could do the middle finger right now, I would. So yeah, no, there is no excuse. There is no excuse. Harming, hurting, lying to, conning, cheating, no excuse. None. But these people, man, they don't think they have to because they don't have a conscience. There's not that Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder going, this is probably not a good idea. They don't have that. They cray, okay? So you want to watch for people that have absolutely no remorse or laugh at somebody having a hard day. I never understood the type of person that enjoyed watching somebody else get hurt. I can't do it. I can't. It's like, I love Jackie Chan, but I could never watch his stuff at the end of the reel because it was always showing him getting hurt. And I'm like, I can't watch this. I can't. It's too much. I've seen people watch other people get hurt and they laugh like it's funny. And I'm just like, what the bleep is wrong with you? Seriously, there is something seriously wrong with somebody that enjoys watching somebody else suffer. So that's where you get into the sadism. So that's part of it. Okay, the individual is at least 18 years of age. There is evidence of conduct disorder with onset before the age of 15. The occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusive during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar. So you can have those when you have bipolar unmedicated or schizophrenia unmedicated. Because remember, with schizophrenia, they've got angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. The two of them are yelling at each other, and the person is trying to make their way through life. And sometimes they have command hallucinations. That also can occur with bipolar. So when it's bipolar with psychotic features. So just trying to differentiate. But anyway, we're on to cluster B. So, oh my God, I'm going to go over. Sorry. So that's antisocial. All right. Borderline personality disorder, a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, meaning they can't seem to maintain friendships or relationships with family. It is constant drama. They are always at odds with someone. They are constantly fighting with someone. There's no stability. The relationships are not stable. They're not calm. They're not. Now, I'm not talking lower end of it. I'm not talking traits up. I'm talking when you get all the way to the witch and the queen. This is where you're going to get the unstable relationships, unstable sense of self and affects, and marked impulsivity. So again, impulsivity, isn't that interesting? Beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts is indicated by 5 or more of the following. Frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. So with somebody who's got borderline personality disorder, you could say good morning to them one time and it would be perfectly fine. You could say good morning to them in exactly the same way and they will come unglued and demand to know what you meant by that. Like seriously, because in their head, all right, hold on. So in borderline, it has traits of all the major personality disorders, all of them, and it borders on psychotic thinking. So that's the psychotic thinking. So in their head, they hear something completely different from good morning. In their head, they're looking for danger all the time. It's like the up periscope is stuck and it never comes down. So they will, in their head, create this whole story that isn't even true, ramp themselves up into a screaming Mimi and take it out on the other person, you know, yelling at them, screaming at them, angry at them. And it's all in their head. It's not even real. So that's usually when you get to the witch and the queen, usually. Okay, so frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. So they'll make stuff up in their head, or if they are being abandoned, they will, literally throw themselves on top of cars to stop people from leaving. That extreme, very extreme. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating extremes of idealization and devaluation. I love you, I hate you. I love you, I hate you. So, and that's not normal. That is not normal. That is not normal. It's not. Relationships are steady. They're stable. They may go up and down a little bit, but they're not like this huge roller coaster of I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. That's a huge red flag. Identity disturbance, markedly and persistent, unstable self-image or sense of self. They don't know who they are. And so they try on different personas. They try on things that they think are going to make them like themselves. So, for example, Lord. So you'll get a client or you'll get a person that doesn't know who they are, that has borderline, that is on the more nasty end of the spectrum. And they will try to imitate people that they think will make other people like them. Does that make sense? So they don't have a sense of who they are. They don't have this, sense of looking in the mirror and going, hey, I like you. Hey, I know who I am. Hey, I'm going to be me, because they don't know who me is. They don't. So there is a sense of always trying on different personas. Impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. So spending, gambling, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Isn't that interesting? Reckless driving. Wow. Impulsivity. Interesting. So these all start overlapping when you get further down the spectrum. Recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or self-mutilating behavior. Okay. So down on the lower end of the spectrum, I do find that the quiet ones, the waif ones, do tend to do cutting because they're trying to feel. They're trying to figure out what that emotion is. And they internalize. It gets internalized. And so cutting in their minds helps them to regulate and helps them to feel and helps them to figure out what they're feeling. It's not a good idea. I don't recommend it. I recommend getting emotional regulation, DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. So, but as the person slides further and further down the line, the suicidal gestures and the suicidal ideation becomes a form of manipulation. And so they use it to intimidate, terrorize, frighten, obligate whoever their target of abuse is. Does that make sense? So yeah, when it gets down to the more dark triad end of it, or the more, witch queen end of it, it is used to terrorize, inflict fear, inflict obligation, inflict, that kind of thing. Okay. Affective instability due to marked reactivity of mood. For example, intense episodes of dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and rarely more than a few days. So anger, anxious, sad, the whole thing. They're like emotionally not able to regulate. Like literally, like, so if something, how do I explain this? Something that a healthy person would be able to cope with, somebody with borderline would not be able to cope with it because of the thoughts that would cause them to start circling the drain. The thoughts are incredibly nasty. And it's, it can cause, that's why they go into the rages. That's why they go into the psychotic thinking. That's why they go into, it's because of the thoughts. And I want to point out, borderline is based in trauma. So the best way to treat borderline is DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. And it's important to get dialectic behavioral therapy because it teaches how to emotionally regulate. So you're not doing up here, down there, up here, down there, up here. And this is why this gets confused oftentimes with bipolar, and it's not. So, okay, chronic feelings of emptiness. They don't think that they're loved, even when they are. And that's the sad thing. It's like they don't feel loved. They don't feel understood. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel, and again, this is because of the trauma, the self-esteem issues, so inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, or recurrent physical fights. That sounds a lot like antisocial. So yes, I'm going to go over a little bit. So they are always angry, always. And they look for reasons to be angry. It's a way for them to get their anger out. I had a professor once, I think I told you about this, it's in my book, and I wrote about it in the next one too, that would literally come into class and say, I can't wait to find somebody to nail so I can get my anger out. You have no business teaching, sir. So yeah, that. Transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. So sometimes they can be incredibly paranoid. You're all out to get me. You're trying to poison me. That whole thing. Or dissociative, lights are on, engines running, person has completely checked out. Now, when they get down to the witch and the queen, they're focused outwards. They're not focused inwards. So the waif and the hermit tend to be a little bit more focused inwards. The witch and the queen are focused, or the queen and the witch are focused outwards, and they want to inflict harm, hurt, pain, whatever. Control. It's all about power and control, power and control, power and control. When they get down to that end, it is very unlikely that they are going to get help or that the help is going to help because they just don't want to. They are enjoying the sadism. They are enjoying inflicting harm, inflicting pain. So again, you want to watch for people that have no empathy. Watch out for that. That's no bueno. Okay, hold on. Histrionic personality disorder, pervasive pattern of excessive emotionality and attention seeking, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts as indicated by 5 or more of the following. Is uncomfortable in situations in which he or she is not the center of attention. That sounds like narcissism, doesn't it? So yeah, they can't stand not being the center of attention. I have seen disordered people ruin weddings, funerals, birthdays, births. Yeah, so somebody who constantly has to be the center of attention, that is a huge red flag. Because in a healthy, normal thing, it's like, oh, I'm at somebody's wedding. It's not about me. Hello, I'm at somebody's funeral. It's not about me. But I have seen disordered people show up to funerals and act as if they were the chief mourner when they barely knew the person who dropped dead. That's what these types do. Okay. Interaction with others is often characterized by inappropriate sexual, seductive, or provocative behavior. So again, they will be inappropriately flirting, inappropriately dressed, trying to get the attention sexually, that type of thing. Just really inappropriate. Not like, normal flirting. There's normal flirting, and then there is histrionic personality disorder flirting, and it is over the top. So, and that is something that I see narcissists. So remember, all of the personality disorders start overlapping when you get further and further down the line. And I have seen narcissists do that when they are attempting to secure another line of supply. So something to take into account. Displays rapid shifting and shallow expressions of emotions. So they don't really feel what they're feeling. They don't feel the feels, unless it's an act, in which case they're doing the chief mourner or the, I'm the life of the party, pay attention to me kind of thing. But it's not real. It's not real. It's like, when somebody's being real, when somebody is in the depth of an emotion, and they tend not to be. Constantly uses physical appearance to draw attention to self. Okay, yeah. Has a style of speech that is excessively impressionistic and lacking in detail. So these are the ones that get stuck in story. So and this is especially for you guys out on the dating sites. I don't recommend it. I don't like the dating sites. So what they do is they create this dramatic thing that's going on, and they want you on their side, and they're telling you this story, but there's no details to it. What was their part in this? Why are they not speaking to this person? What is going on? That kind of thing. So it's very expressionistic and lacking in detail. Shows self-dramatization, theatricality, or exaggerated expression of emotions. Over the top, chief mourner, that kind of thing. Is suggestible, easily influenced by others or circumstances. So they don't really have much of a moral compass. So if everybody's doing it, it's the old thing, like, what your mom or dad used to say, well, if everybody was jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you? That kind of thing. And they would, because everybody's doing it. So again, it's wanting to be part of that in crowds. Very suggestible, very easily led. Considers relationships to be more intimate than they actually are. So this is funny, because this is what you will see with narcissists. So they will hook up with a supply and get them, and within a week or two, or maybe at the end of the month, they're calling the person their boyfriend or girlfriend. And you guys just met, and so they're making things more intimate than they really are. Okay, so that's histrionic. I'm going to go over narcissistic. Okay, so this is what you guys need to watch for. A pervasive pattern of grandiosity. So now remember, there's different types of narcissists. There's the overt ones, which are me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Covert ones, which are akin to the borderline hermit. So those are the martyrs. So, I do all this for you. You don't do anything for me. Look at what I've done for you. Oh my, I have the vapors, that kind of thing. So, and then there is communal, which are the Jim Joneses, the cults kind of thing, cult of personality, using religion, hiding behind the religion to manipulate and control. And then you've got the somatic ones that are all about appearance. Okay, so there's different types. Okay, pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, and lack of empathy. What does that sound like? That sounds like antisocial. Beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, is indicated by 5 or more of the following. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commiserate achievements. So these are the ones that claim to have graduated from Yale and they didn't, or claim that they have training in the SEALs and they didn't, or claim that they have some sort of military thing and they don't. So, when somebody tells you these things, you may want to verify them, especially if they sound too good to be true. So that's what they do. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. So everything has to be perfect. Their career has to be perfect. Their power has to be all-encompassing. They have to be acknowledged as the most brilliant person in the room. They have to be acknowledged as the most handsome or the most beautiful in the room. They have to have the perfect, what's the word I'm looking for? Trophy wife or trophy husband. That's what they look for. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other high status people or institutions. So they look down at people. They do. They they seriously are like, oh, well, you're not good enough for me because I need to be associating with, I don't know, the Rockefellers or some BS. You know what I'm saying? So they do that. Requires excessive admiration. You are constantly having to fluff them up. Constantly having to fluff them up. Yes, you are great. Yes, you are this. Yes, you are that. Yes, 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 yes. And it's never enough because they are a black hole. With a healthy, normal person. Now listen, everybody has days where you kind of go, I don't know about this. I need some reassurance. Okay, everybody does that. But it's not an hourly, minutely thing. With a narcissist, it is an hourly, minutely thing. There is never enough validation, reassurance, etc., because they have got this absolute black hole where their soul should be that is never going to get filled. Ever, because there is not enough other esteem to fill it. Ever, because the voices in their heads are always going to be going, I need more, 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 So there is that. Okay, sense of entitlement. What's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. Let me say that again. Sense of entitlement. What's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. Seriously. And they're the type that will, this is a good example. They'll show up to a hotel or a restaurant, made a reservation. They show up an hour and a half late and they expect to be seated. They really do. I have seen narcissists show up there and start screaming at the poor maitre d' because maitre d' can't seat them because the reservation was given away because they didn't bother showing up in time. And they will sit there and scream at the maitre d' because, of course, the maitre d' is beneath them. And it doesn't matter how they treat the maitre d'. And so they're very sense of entitlement. Well, of course you should give me the best seat in the house because I'm me, and of course you're going to seat me because I'm me, even though I'm an hour and a half late for my reservation, which I just, boy. Anyway, so sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with their expectations. So these are the ones who tell you to jump, and if you don't say how high, they will rage at you. These are the ones that will tell you to do something, and if you don't do it that second, they will rage at you. How dare you? How dare you not do what I want you to do when I want you to do it? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Lack of empathy. Seems to be a overarching thing in all of the personality disorders. Unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Nobody else has needs except them. Literally, that is how they think. Nobody else has needs except me. That's honest to God. We have, where's my pen? Where's my pen? I have no idea. My pen is gone. Okay, we mean nothing more to them than this cup, which is available on eBay, by the way. So, shameless plug. But no, we are an object to be used. That is it. We are an object to be used. We have no more meaning to them than something that can be used. And once we outlive our usefulness to them, they discard us. That's when they start the devalue and the discard. So these are behaviors, guys, that I need you to pay attention to. Okay, hold on. I will get to the questions, I promise. Okay. Is often envious of others or believe that others are envious of him or her. So they literally are always jealous. It's competition. They are always jealous of somebody else that has something else. So let's say the narcissist just bought a brand new car, right? But then somebody else shows up with a newer car or a different car or whatever, and they will be jealous like nobody's business. And then they'll start devaluing the car or the person or whatever. Everything is a competition to them. It is constantly a jealousy thing or an envious thing. And they think that other people are looking at them going, oh, they're jealous of me because I have so much, because I'm so fabulous. Oh, You know what I'm saying? So they're constantly in this weird competition thing, and they think that other people are in competition with them because they are in competition with everybody. So that is something to look out for. Shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So just, my doo-doo doesn't stink, that kind of thing. Arrogant, haughty, doesn't bother to say hello to people, sticks their nose up in the air, thinks they're better than everybody else. Those are the behaviors to look out for. Okay, I think, that was it. Those are the cluster Bs. All of those behaviors you guys got to watch out for, because as they get closer to the dark triad, narcissistic, psychopathic, control freak, Machiavellian, all of the personality disorders, as you just saw, start overlapping. Okay. And they will express all of those. And yes, you can have multiple personality disorders. You can be narcissistic and borderline. You can be histrionic and narcissistic. You can be, it's called comorbidity. So yes, you can have multiple personality disorders, and you can have cluster A's along with a cluster B, or a cluster C along with a cluster B, or whatever. So yeah, it can all, it overlaps. So anyway, in conclusion, to summarize, there is too much to summarize. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is pay attention to the behaviors. Behaviors always speak louder than words. Seriously, how do they act? How do they treat people? Seriously, it's like, are they arrogant and nasty and treating the waitstaff horribly, or are they, putting on a show, but then behind closed doors, they're horrible people? Those are all things to pay attention to. So all of the things I just talked about, keep those in mind. Please do not ignore these behaviors. These are the diagnostic signs of somebody with cluster Bs. And these are the ones, the cluster Bs are the ones that are the abusers. So please keep your eyes open and don't fall for their pretty words, because they can say the prettiest words, but their behavior is heinous. So, okay, let's get to the questions, since I have really gone way over time. Okay, where are we? How do I find a trauma-informed therapist in a small town? You're not going to. Let me be clear on that. The smaller the town, the harder it is to find a therapist that is trauma-informed, because you have less to pick from, number one. And number two, honest to God, how many trauma-informed therapists are there out there that have been there, done that, know what to look for, know how to help the client? Do you see where I'm going with that? So what you can do is you can go online, you can go to BetterHelp, you could look up Psychology Today, and what you're looking for is somebody who is well-versed in trauma. So what are the recommendations? Who did they train under? There's Bessel van de Kolk. Okay, all you students out there, Bessel van de Kolk is doing a training right now, I think it's through PESI, on trauma and how to help your clients with trauma. So go get trained, seriously. So if you are looking for a trauma therapist, first of all, you're gonna ask them a bunch of questions. So you should be interviewing the therapist as much as the therapist is interviewing you. So when I talk to clients, I kind of, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on. And then I ask them, do you have any questions? Let me tell you, what I know to help you feel comfortable choosing me as the therapist. Here's my training. Here's how many books I've written on trauma. Here's the training I've had on trauma. Here's, it's like that kind of thing. So you should be asking them these questions. What is your training in trauma? What do you know about narcissistic abuse? Have you written any books? Do you know what you're talking about? That kind of thing. And I don't get offended when, potential clients ask me that. And it's so funny, because I've heard some therapists, probably narcissists, come unglued when somebody wants to know their credentials. And I'm like, that is the client's right to know what the therapist knows. Because, don't get me started. Anyway, the point being is you want to interview the therapist. Do they understand trauma? And listen to me now, believe me later. If you get with a therapist and the therapist doesn't know their a-hole from a hole in the ground, fire them. Fire them. Go find another therapist. Absolutely. You're probably going to have to go online. That's going to be my guess. Because like, again, unless you luck out and you happen to have a really good trauma therapist that happens to live in a small town, it could happen. Gerard Butler might land in my lap. Who knows? It could happen, but it's not likely, but it could happen. So you find out, you ask. And if you don't like what they're telling you, then you go find one online that you can work with and that's in your state. And you can go anywhere in your state. That's the thing, if they're doing online. So yeah. So there's that. Okay, I hope that answered that question. Can a borderline personality disordered person also be narcissistic? Yes, absolutely. So again, it's comorbidity. They can have borderline and narcissism and, histrionic, they can have all of them. Yeah, it's comorbid. So if you're recognizing, it's like, well, damn, they've got this and they've got that and they've got this and they've got that. Again, as they slide down the spectrum, okay, as they get closer and closer to that dark triad, all of the personality disorders start overlapping and start expressing themselves. Yay! So run, do not walk to the nearest exit. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. Do narcs have Munchausen by proxy? They can. It seems they are always ill or near death and often use their childhood to seek medical attention. Okay, you're talking two different things here, guys. Maybe I need to do another one on Munchausen. So what you're talking about is hypochondria. So hypochondria is when somebody is always sick, gets the latest disease, is always running to the doctor, is always convinced they're dying, that's hypochondria. Okay. So they're always thinking that they're ill. And yes, narcissists do that abso-freaking-lutely, because they're looking for the attention. They're looking for the narcissistic supply. Poor me, I'm sick, I'm going to the doctor, blah, 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 blah. Pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And by the way, let me talk about my bowels 24/7. I don't know what it is with narcissists and their bowels. That's all they ever want to talk about, especially when they're older. So yes, that is hypochondria. Now, Munchausen by proxy is where they harm somebody else in order to get the attention. So I'm dating myself here. I don't know if you guys remember The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, and one of the storylines in that was the little girl whose mother was poisoning her in order to get the attention of her having this mystery illness. And of course, the mother went too far and killed her. And that's Munchausen by proxy. So they harm the kid and they get the attention from the kid being in the hospital all the time or having a mystery illness or whatever. And yeah, do narcissists do that? You betcha. Mm-hmm. Hypochondriac also is something that narcissists do because it's narcissistic supply. It's how they get the attention. Okay. Hold on. I hope that answered the question. Do narcs pretend to have a higher IQ? Oh, sorry, I laughed. Do narcs pretend to have a higher IQ than they really have? I have seen a narc who was cunning, but not very intelligent, has never achieved anything, but praised herself on how smart she was. Yes, absolutely. So narcissists think that they are literally smarter than Albert Einstein. They really do. They think that they are smarter than everybody. And they think that they are so cunning and so smart and nobody has them figured out. The thing about narcissists is they can be smart. My dad was an attorney for sure, and he knew the law, but emotionally speaking, he was an idiot. God love him. So they think that they're smart in all areas of life, and they are not. And they are usually the ones who sit there and go, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart. I'm sorry, a lion does not need to announce that it's a lion. Let me just say that again. A lion does not need to announce that it is a lion. You know it's a lion, okay? But narcissists have to keep going, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart, because they're waiting for people to be like, oh, yes, of course you are. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're usually the ones who are constantly saying that they're smart. Now, this is different. I want to make this very, very clear from somebody who's been abused in narcissistic families who were constantly told they were stupid. And now they are finally discovering that they're smart. That's a different thing when they kind of go, oh my God, I'm smart. But they're not sitting there like yelling it to the world, tell me how smart I am. They're kind of like this realization that my family lied to me. I am smart. And that's a beautiful thing. But a narcissist, yes, a narcissist will tell total strangers how smart they are. They will insist on being acknowledged as being this brilliant person when they're not. And they do overestimate their own cunning. They do overestimate their own smarts, etc. Narcissists are so arrogant and so stupid. This is why, thank God, most criminals are antisocial, personality disorder, narcissistic, etc. And that's what trips them up, because they basically brag about what they've done, the antisocial ones, or the narcissists who are the like stalkers and stuff will tell you ahead of time exactly what they're gonna do. They tell you. They're so stupid. They don't believe in surprise attack or whatever. They tell you what they're gonna do. And then they're shocked when you go and file an order of protection against them when they do it. And you have the text saying exactly what they're gonna do. It's like, they're not that bright. They think they are, but they're not. And yes, they do the whole I'm smart. Again, a lion doesn't need to announce that they're a lion. So, all right. What does normal flirting look like versus what histrionic flirting does? Okay, so histrionic flirting is over the top, like over the top. So normal flirting is that kind of, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. That's a Monty Python thing. If you're old enough to have watched Monty Python, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, it's not going to go anywhere, not wanting it to go anywhere. You're just flirting. It's, human beings do that. Babies flirt. Babies are so cute. Oh my God. So yeah, they flirt. It's just kind of smiling and, that kind of thing. So that's normal because it's not intended to go anywhere. Normal flirting is just, fun flirting. It's, no expectations, nothing. With a histrionic person, it is over the top. It is like, how do I explain it? Very sexual, very wanting it to go somewhere, very inappropriate. I don't know how to explain it, but in flirting, you have to know your audience. You have to know your person that you're flirting with, and if they clearly don't want that attention, you stop, right? Histrionics don't. They just keep plowing forward, and they are inappropriate and over the top, overly sexual, not just kind of flirting, kind of funny kind of thing, but like bow chicka wow wow, over the top, overly sexual, wanting something out of it. It's like that's, I think, is the difference, is that with normal flirting, it's just like, how you doing, and you just go on with your day. With a histrionic, it's like they want something. There is some ulterior motive to that flirting. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please IM me. You guys, if you've got questions and I didn't answer them here clearly, or if you have another question, or if you have a show that you would like me to do, go on to Facebook. We need to talk with Chris Godinez. IM me and just send me the show suggestion, or send me the question that you're confused about, and I'd be happy to answer it in between my other clients. So, all right. So I hope that answered the question. So it's the intention. So like a normal flirting, it's like you don't expect anything. You're just kind of like, I'm going to flirt. This is fun. And then you go on with your day. With histrionic, it's like there's an intention there. It's like they want something more than just the flirting. It's overly sexual. It's inappropriate. It's, it makes the other person uncomfortable, that kind of thing. And you don't ever want anybody to be uncomfortable. When attention is not wanted, a healthy, normal person goes, oh, sorry, didn't mean to cross that line. Okay, and they back off. With somebody with histrionic, they don't. They just keep going. And it's over the top, inappropriate, overly sexual, that kind of thing. Makes the person uncomfortable. So hope that answered the question. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, how do I remove myself from someone's nasty and toxic presence who keeps on labeling me and screaming instead of talking and has been ignoring my requests to not behave this way? You go no contact. You absolutely go no contact. You are under no obligation to put up with BS from anybody. Seriously. So if you're with somebody and let's say they start flipping out, let's say they start deregulating, and let's say they start, raging and screaming, what you quietly do is, I'm not putting up with this behavior. I am leaving. And then you walk away and you leave. Now, that's going to cause them to probably flip out even more. Let them. Or if you're on the phone, I'm sorry. I refuse to be treated this way. Goodbye. Click or button. You know what I'm saying. You hang up. You don't put up with it. So I think the thing for us is that we're so concerned about harming or hurting another person. But in reality, when you are dealing with a narcissist or a borderline that is malignant, okay, they've reached the point where they do the screaming Mimi stuff. They've got the psychotic thinking. They like harming people. They keep doing the behavior even after you've said, I'm not putting up with it. What they're doing is they're pushing the envelope. They want to see how far you're going to go. They want to see if they can get away with it. Don't let them get away with it. You walk away. You hang up on them. You don't put up with it. You absolutely do. You go no contact. Absolutely. And then you draw really strong boundaries. If you want to be in a relationship with me, family member, friend, whatever, you will go get DBT therapy. And if you don't, have a nice life. I wish you well. Like literally, I wish you were well. You know, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? So yeah, you don't put up with that. So you remove yourself by going no contact and drawing extremely strong boundaries, and don't fall for the whole you guns. You made me, you're this, you're that, you. Nope. That's another clear sign you're dealing with somebody who's disordered, because a healthy, normal person takes responsibility for their own behavior. If somebody starts raging and screaming and they're still sitting there screaming at you going, you, that's when you go, we're done. Bye-bye. Not putting up with this. Have a nice life. Bye-bye. And you leave or you hang up, one of the two. And then don't have a relationship with them. You cannot fix them, guys. You cannot fix them because you did not break them. Let me be clear on that. They need to fix themselves. Now, the only ones that can are the ones that are at the lower end of the spectrum. Once they start reaching the malignant and enjoying the drama and the triangles and the chaos and the harming and the hurting and the sadistic, they're not interested in fixing themselves. They're not. And you can't help them. It's not your job. You can say, hey, you need help. But if they don't go get it, you don't need to be calling them the therapist for them. They need to be calling the therapist. Do you see where I'm going with that? You can only help the willing, basically. All right, let's see if we got any other questions. Yes, we do. Is it common to lose every bit of empathy you once had for the narc parent after years of abuse? Yes. So here's the deal. When we have been abused and we finally see the abuse for what it is, and we stop making excuses for the abuser, that empathy, was it real or was it the excuse making that we did? So with my dad, I'm clear he chose. He had multiple times to get help. He had multiple opportunities to go get help, and he refused. So at that point, I kind of went, you're on your own, dude. I just have suggestions. I don't have advice. I just have suggestions, So, and he wouldn't take any of the suggestions. He wouldn't listen to me. He wouldn't listen to my sisters, wouldn't listen to my mom. He had plenty of opportunity, gave him books, wouldn't read them, wouldn't look at him, wouldn't take a look in the mirror, wouldn't do it. So there comes a point in time when it's like reality therapy. So what's the reality of this situation? Well, the reality is they've created their own hell, and I want no part of it. Yeah, you do lose that. I guess you could call it empathy, but it's really not, because true empathy. So, okay, compassion versus idiot compassion. Idiot compassion is when we make excuses for them. Oh, but poor them, they had this horrible childhood. Oh, but poor them, da. So that's idiot compassion. And I need to be in their life to fix them. That's idiot compassion. Compassion is where you can take a look at an abuser and go, wow, sucks to be you, dude. Whew, I see how you got here. And I'm not going to be in your life because I'm not going to allow you to abuse me anymore. You've got all the tools you need. You're just not using them. Compassion versus idiot compassion. So we lose the idiot compassion and we gain true compassion, which is they are responsible for their own lives and their own mess ups. They have the tools, they've been offered therapy. They know they're behaving like jackasses, or maybe they don't know they're behaving like jackasses, or they do know that they're behaving like jackasses, but they say they don't know that they're behaving like jackasses. That's on them. And you let them go. Boop. That's not being not empathic. Wow, that was a lot of negatives. That's the difference between compassion and idiot compassion. So you can have compassion for them, but you don't have to have the abuser in your life because you cannot fix them because you did not break them. Okay, let's see how we are doing on time. I think that was the last question. Yes, it was. I stopped caring eventually about the narc and didn't feel sad when she died. That's normal, guys. That is normal. Can I just validate that for you just really quickly? When my dad died, we were not sad. Where's my book? This one. I talk about it in here. What's wrong with your dad? When my dad died, the family was not sad he was dead. We were actually relieved. It was more of a, whew, dodge that bullet. Okay, don't have to deal with that crazy anymore. That's literally what we did. And when we did cry, it was more a mourning of the loss of what it could have been. If only he were sane. If only he'd gotten help. If only he hadn't decided to drink and drug himself into a stupor. If only. So we were mourning the loss of what could have been. Did we mourn the loss of the actual person? Hell no. My mom and I sat on the couch and my mom felt so guilty. And she was like, I feel so guilty. And I said, why? And she said, because I don't feel sad he's dead. And I'm like, congratulations, Mom. None of us do. So that's a normal response to the death of an abuser. So there that is. Okay. So next week, let's talk more about that topic. Let's talk about when the abuser goes away, either through death or we leave them, and the mourning process, the grieving. At some point, I do also want to talk, because I know somebody had asked me to do one on how to get rid of toxic friendships. So that's going to be 2 weeks out. But next week, I want to talk more about how to deal when the abuser leaves. So how to deal when they go away. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the grief? How do you deal with the loss? How do you deal with all of that? So I think I'm going to title it Allowing Yourself to Feel Afterwards, because I've got to title it carefully so that the YouTube bots don't go, we're not going to give you any advertising stuff because it's, oh my God, controversial. Don't get me started. Anyway, so I think we're going to talk more about that. So we're going to talk about inheritance. We're going to talk about grieving. We're going to talk about how you're going to feel after you leave. We're going to talk about compassion versus idiot compassion. We're going to talk about how to do self-care, all of that stuff. The aftermath. How about we title it The Aftermath? There we go. All right, guys. So that is it for today. I hope everybody has a great week. Please do take very good care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water. Get a lot of exercise. Go and get some sunshine. And next week, we will be talking about the aftermath. So I want to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. And you guys all be good to each other. And I will talk to you later. Bye.